Hey guys, welcome to my armchair review of Rambo 3. Been battling this illness, I've just been checking out all the Rambo films. Picked them up on 4K about 2 months ago when they got released, roughly. I've had them sitting on the pile. I did mention in my previous review of Rambo 2 that Rambo 3 was my least favourite in the franchise, but having just revisited it for the first time in years, I've got to admit I really enjoyed the hell out of it. It's still a lot of fun. Even though it hasn't quite got the spectacle of Rambo Part 2, it's still very much an over-the-top action classic, and there is a lot of one-liners in this one. Rambo really kind of goes to town with the humour, dropping the one-liners, so yeah, it had that. There are some truly iconic scenes in this one too, like when he has to remove a spike through his side and then he cauterizes it in a cave, and you know, he sets fire to the wound and the fire explodes from his back through to the front. It was pretty horrible. It really impacted me a lot when I first saw this as a kid, but it's just one of those iconic scenes that people kind of remember when they're thinking of Rambo. This one is basically set in Afghanistan. The Russians are harassing this small Afghani village. The US are supplying the Afghans with ammunition and stingers so they can take down the Russian helicopters, but the Russians have got such a stranglehold they've cordoned off all supplies of ammunition to this Afghani village. So Richard Crenna, Colonel Troutman, approaches Rambo once again to go on this mission to try to go in there, infiltrate and see what's going on. Rambo declines, saying that the war has to end for him sometime. So Troutman goes in alone, promptly gets captured. Rambo needs to go and rescue him, and that's the basic plot of the film. So once again, Sly is delivering a iconic performance. I'm going to use it. I'm going to say an iconic performance of Rambo, because the character of Rambo is iconic. He's one of Sly's most beloved creations next to Rocky, and these films are just built for fun. You cannot take them seriously, although like I said in my previous review, he does have a little bit to say about the political climate of the time. Like when this film was made in 1988, the Russians and the Afghanis were at war. So he does like to get that snapshot and try to make Rambo as relevant as possible to that particular time. But once again, this is just fantasy. Like, you can't really take it too seriously. Yeah, the Afghani-Russian war is the backdrop, but Rambo once again is just a one-man army taking on everyone by himself and causing mayhem, shooting everyone, and there's explosions galore. So at the end of the day, this is just a fantasy action film, and that's how you should treat it. So once again, Sly Stallone returns to the role. I'm going to be using my trivia on here as well. Richard Crenna's back. He died not long after filming this. This is why he didn't come back for any more movies after this one, although it did take Sly another 20 years to revisit the Rambo character with Rambo, which he made in 2008, essentially Rambo 4. So Rambo 3 was the last one. It was a trilogy for a long time. First Blood, Rambo 2 and Rambo 3 were it. So having that new one come out in 2008, and then another 11 years before the new one's coming out, Rambo 5, Last Blood. So First Blood come out in 1982, Rambo First Blood Part 2 come out in 1985, and then Rambo 3 in 1988. So he just had like a 3-year gap between each one, and the trilogy stayed of the trilogy for so long, and then, you know, 20 years later he's got back into the bandana. So Richard Crenna was back. We've got Kurtwood Smith, Red Foreman from That 70s Show in this one. In regards to the 4K resolution, yeah, this looked really nice. The whole lot of the films, First Blood, Rambo 2, Rambo 3, all look very similar in regards to the transfer. I did have a lot of grain issues. I had to turn down one of the settings on my TV set because it did make the grain really prominent. So I had to kind of like dial it down. The resolution of the 4K was just really showing up quite a lot. So I toned down that and made the image a lot clearer, because it was pretty much like unwatchable at one point. It was just flaring and it was just so much artifacting, and the grain was just to the point of being a distraction. A lot of muted colours in this one as well. The only time you really see a lot of HDR artwork in this film is when, at the beginning of the film, where we have got Rambo working at a monastery and we've got a lot of monks walking around in like bright yellow robes or red. So those colours really pop there. As for the rest of the film, it's kind of very muted, a lot of desert setting. The night scenes are good, very deep and crisp in the black areas. But in regards to HDR, there were a lot of natural skin tones, and the environment looked really nice, and the blues of the sky look very naturalistic as well. The resolution, yeah, very, very clear detail in Stallone. He's topless for most of the film and looking really tan, so he looked really good in regards to the HDR and the tones of his skin, and all the scarring and all the makeup effects on him looked crystal clear as well. You can see his pores, his sweat, so yeah, that crisp image from the 4K is outstanding once again. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen these movies. I loved them dearly as a kid growing up. I love my action films, and Sly Stallone in this role is truly iconic, like I said. So in regards to the 4K HDR of the next film, Rambo, I don't know. But like I mentioned, because they've got the Rambo 5 coming out this year at some point, I'm sure they're going to revisit Rambo and give that the 4K HDR release it deserves as well. I can't imagine they'll stop after the first 3. It makes no sense. This is a trilogy. It's a set of films. Just kind of freestyling here once again with my arm holding the tripod, so that's why I'm a little bit wobbly at the moment. Still battling this virus. It's been nearly 2 weeks. Completely wrecking my life. But anyhow, the show must go on. Rambo 3, thoroughly enjoyed it. Giving it a rating out of 10, I'd give it an 8. So yeah, that's Rambo 3. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely worth a pick up on 4K HDR. I've got the Blu-ray set, and now it was just a natural step for me to pick up the 4K version because I'm always kind of double dipping anyway. But Rambo is a franchise that I just adore, so it was just a no-brainer for me. Anyway guys, that's my review on Rambo 3, finishing out the trilogy. Hope it continues soon with Rambo 4 if it ever comes out. But anyhow, thanks for checking in. I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.